Hey, my name is Josh Babu. I'm going to be doing the month of August at Three Phase Center, and I'm going to explore movements in BMX. So really what I want to do is make sculptures. These objects will be made out of materials that us BMXers love to ride, and these materials will make a figure, and inside the figure will be films that I've made, kind of like how a videographer or a photographer looks through an eyepiece. You'll look in through the sculpture and you'll be presented a film. I hope to have 3 different films and sculptures, and then 3 films inside the sculpture. The one film will kind of have just bodies in flight. It'll be almost 120 frames, so it'll be super slow-mo, and it'll pretty much capture the figure of the body and the movements and the gestures of the bike and the symbols it'll make, whether we follow like an arm or a leg through the air, and how it spins and forms its figure throughout the air. That's the important part of this segment or that sculpture. The second one will be a play on the materials. The rider propels himself through the air. So it'll be a different perspective, whether it's through first person or through the eyes of the dirt or through the eyes of the rail. It'll capture these styles and gestures of the rider, not particular tricks, but more of using the ramp and the material rather than the trick itself. What I'm trying to portray is the style and the bike control and the gestures of the arm or the leg or the back or the altogether functioning of the body, the human being, and the tool they're using to propel themselves through the air. The third object will be kind of like an all-around piece, both air and material, making a costume. I shoot BMX video, and it's particularly all about the tricks and the ego and the pride, and this is the version of BMX and the touch we have with nature and the materials. And I wanted to step back and not make it about, the music or the products or any of that, or the bike itself, but almost just the tool, the one piece of it together. It's just a feeling, or like the nurturing of it, of the time spent, whether it's to the dirt sculpting the art, or the welds of the rail, or the welds of the bike. Or I feel like it's going to be part of a bigger process later. If I pull through with these, it'll help me maybe connect the bridge between my artwork and my video BMX work, my corporate media work, So it's a nice step in the right direction. So we've been gathering all our supplies, and we've been kind of putting everything together, seeing what we have. We got skate light material, heavy angle iron, round tubing. Now we're in the process of just making all these things fit into the idea that I wanted. We have the video, pretty much is going to be the preface to this back room here. In that video we play with gestures with just the tool, not the rider, and just kind of play with specific bike parts, the frame, fork, and bars. Second room back here, we actually took some of the actual material that fit together and made a little installation. And in this installation, it's going to show pretty much what's going on in the background. It's going to be... Let me think about how this is, because let me explain what it is to you. So like basically, I want that little iPad in there, and that's going to show... Tonight, I'm going to move this out of the way and film the square, like, you know how we were talking about the drawing thing, and it'll be like that, almost like pulled back, and then that video will be in here. Even if no one is riding in the square frame, in the frame, this presentation will be going. But also at the same time, if a rider or a viewer wants to interact with the actual bike or the tool, they can step back on the ramps and actually ride it. There's going to be a mirror above attached, so the crowd can kind of stand back and watch the rider ride from a different perspective. Kind of eliminates the rider and just makes it about the tool. How we captured the video in the first room was light the bike up with this easy wire material. We had about 15 feet of easy wire, and we attached it and spiraled it around each fork, bar, and frame. Once we had that set up, we went to a skate park in the darkest setting and pretty much just rode the bikes in pure darkness, and just saw and felt what we can do with the bikes based on the darkness. So it was pretty much feeling, and not only feeling the grips, but feeling the skate park and the concrete, and it was just more of an experience rather than technique. Yeah, we wanted to just see what we can do with our momentum and the carves and the pumps. It wasn't like you really didn't know when to pull up at all or pump or anything. It was more of just your instincts, and we did it 10, 15 times over, and by the end it was like, it was fluid. You didn't really have to think, and it was a step back from tricks and this other awareness you need to see, but it almost felt like we lost the sense, and it was subtracting the sense, so all our other senses kind of went up. But you have this bike underneath you, which is making you aware of the moment. We had this experience. We tried to document this experience. Like exploiting your senses and limiting what gets what. Because you're only hearing your bike in the sense. And then you feel yourself going up, so you're getting vertigo as this is happening, and you're not sure how much to pull or yank or... Yeah, we just wanted to minus out any tricks or any of that. Like, it was basically something, by the 10th try, you understood the concept of that tool. You know, we picked a very easy object to ride and just bolt corner, just rode it for like a half hour, just over and over. So
here we have the rideable features for Josh's installation, and what we started with was just this little 3-foot street spine, so we have 2 sides. And as I started piecing that together, I wanted to just make a black half pipe that someone could ride with the lights on their bike, so you would get a feeling. Just a half pipe doesn't have a lot of variety, and certain types of riders might not like it, or certain types of people might just see it as one thing. So we added a bunch of features to it.
the one thing I was pretty happy about hearing was people were interested in my self-empowerment through my footage and how I took control of my subjects versus being in the back seat, which is a nice perspective to hear from other people because it was unconsciously what I was trying to do throughout the piece. So it was cool to portray that message to those without really having to speak it. It was nice also too to see all the materials and the lighting. It was more a personal feeling to me. The one thing when I first came to Three Phase, I thought I was making art, but really it was an exploration into what I do and the feelings and the gestures I do, and it didn't really feel like it was that far off of me. I wasn't making some art project. I was basically just exploring a different route in what I do, which was pretty amazing. The art wasn't made particularly through my pieces. It's almost like anybody can find art through the meaning of their own life, and whatever you do, you can kind of look at it through a different kind of lens and a different perspective. In this sense, like this project has opened my eyes to how I want to do my future work, the feelings I want to express, and the mindset I want the viewer to have. It's opened up a whole new world of how I see emotion and gesture and just figures in space, figures within the composition. I just see them completely different than when I first started. Metal, steel, and skate light were kind of the things that attached myself to the bike. So I kind of stayed with those objects. With the dirt, I wasn't really sure what I'd do with it other than keep it as a pile of dirt or shape it. In the sense, it wasn't me at that point, so I just had to continue with all the materials that I felt like I found naturally. I felt like the artwork was pretty similar to my editing process, where you just have a bunch of stuff in the beginning and you just file down and whittle all these pieces till it's just one piece where you couldn't imagine it being something else. It doesn't matter what it is at the end, it's like the process that we all enjoy, and for me it was a change of my process. The one interesting thing when forming all these ideas and as I got close to the end was that this wasn't going to be a piece that I could sell or market or any of that. It was just almost like a bystander to what I do, almost like an innocent bystander. I've just been presenting a product to people for years, and now it's just interesting to be like, every piece has its own meaning, and if you take a piece from over there and a piece from here, you can still combine them and create something. Three Phase was pretty awesome. It allowed me to just create, and like I didn't really have to hold up on a pedestal. It was just an experiment of myself and voyaging into something I've never tried, and just opened up my brain to like multiple different new ideas, and we'll see where the future takes me now.